This happened about 2 weeks ago. I've been driving trucks for nearly 10 years now. Long shifts are just part of my job, and I'm used to the quiet. It's mostly routine, just me and the open road. But I've never stopped thinking about that night I was making my regular run through the desert. At first, everything felt fine. The radio played softly, and the hum of the tires soothed me. Still, something felt off. Maybe it was how the moon was hidden behind thick clouds. I glanced in the rearview mirror. I think I saw a flash. Perhaps a car? I told myself it was just fatigue messing with my head. But the feeling wouldn't leave that night felt heavier than usual. I drove on, feeling the weight of silence pressing down on me. I rolled past stretches of nothing. Then, right around mile marker 64, I saw a figure on the side of the road. It stood there, but as I got closer, it vanished like smoke. My heart began racing. I thought I'd imagined it. Over the next few nights, things only got weirder. I started noticing more silhouettes. Sometimes they looked like people, other times just shadows. They stalked the roads and vanished every time I approached. Cold chills crawled over my skin. I can't explain it, but I felt like they were watching me. One night, I heard something strange. Whispers echoed through the cabin. I swear I heard my name. At first, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or if the radio was glitching again. It made me uneasy, like something was right outside my truck. My pulse quickened. I pulled over to the shoulder. I needed to steady my breath. The radio crackled with static. Through the noise, I thought I heard laughter. It was faint, almost playful, but it chilled me to the bone. I rolled down the window. The air felt thick. I listened, but the laughter faded. Maybe I'm just not sleeping enough, I thought. But doubt crept in. When I reached a gas station, those encounters had taken their toll. I felt like I was being followed, even under the buzzing lights. I looked around, nobody seemed to notice anything off. I doubted my sanity. I thought it had to be the long hours messing with my mind. But deep down, I felt like I was being drawn into something darker. Then, one night, I saw it again in the rearview mirror, that flash of light. I thought maybe it was just another truck, but there was something different. My heart started racing. When I looked again, there was no one there. I sighed, but then I felt it. A cold breath against my neck. Then I heard someone whisper, "Why are you still here?" I froze. I turned around. Nobody was there. Now I dread the open road. I can't shake those shadows or the whispers that taunt me. Every time I drive through that desert, I wonder if I really am alone. Sometimes, I still think I feel their eyes on me, waiting. Waiting for what? I don't know. But I can't forget that voice. I wish I could. I tried to put it all behind me, but the open road is unforgiving. Each mile felt like a test. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual. I kept glancing in the mirrors, expecting to see those shadows again. I couldn't shake the feeling they were still there, lurking just out of sight. On my next run, I was passing through the same stretch of desert. Night fell fast, and with it came the familiar heaviness that had haunted me. I turned on the radio, but it only filled with static. An eerie hum hung in the air. I forced myself to keep driving, reassuring myself it was just another night. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be. As I approached mile marker 64, anxiety clawed at my chest. What if I saw something again? What if it was worse? The thought made my fingers tremble on the wheel. Then, by the roadside, I saw it. A flicker of movement. I squinted, but the figure was gone before I could focus. My heart raced. I shook my head, convincing myself it was just the desert playing tricks. Suddenly, there it was again, a flash of light behind me. I glanced back, and this time, I definitely saw it. A silhouette on the edge of the road, illuminated by my headlights. I slammed on the brakes. The tires skidded. My heart thundered in my chest as I rapidly swung the truck to a stop. "Who was there?" I shouted, my voice hoarse. The silence swallowed my question. I stepped cautiously out of the cab, the gravel crunching beneath my boots. Show yourself. Nothing. The night was still, too still. After a moment, I turned back, ready to escape into the safety of my truck. That's when I noticed something weird on the ground. I crouched down, heart pounding. It was a small object, glinting faintly in the headlights. I picked it up, a stone, but not just any stone. It was smooth and cold, engraved with strange symbols. I tossed it aside, thinking it couldn't be real. But even as I did, an unsettling whisper rippled through the night. You found it. I whipped around, facing the darkness. Who said that? No answer. The silence returned, even more suffocating than before. I hesitated for a moment, the thought of running back to the truck tempting. But I couldn't leave yet. From the shadows, I caught a glimpse of movement again. This time, it wasn't just a flicker. A figure stepped into the light, and my breath hitched. It was tall and thin, its face obscured by a hood. I could barely see its eyes, but I felt them drilling into me. That same voice came again, sharper this time. You must listen. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, tripping over that damn stone. I scrambled to my feet and bolted for the truck. The shadows followed closely, whispering my name louder now, echoing in my ears. As I jumped into the cab, I slammed the door shut, locking it tight. I fumbled with the ignition, heart racing. Then, just as the engine roared to life, I saw the figure again, standing too close. It raised a hand, revealing its long fingers, pointed like claws. Whatever was out there wanted me. And now, I was certain it wouldn't stop until it got what it wanted. I tore out of there, the road ahead stretching endlessly. But I could still hear that whispering. It echoed in my mind as I sped away, leaving the darkness behind, for now. I hit the gas harder than I ever had. The truck lurched forward, tires screeching and kicking up dust behind me. I knew I couldn't look back. Not now. The dark stretch of road seemed to mock me, taunting me with memories and nightmares. The engine roared, but it did little to drown out the whispers. As I sped away, the lights of the figure dimmed in the rearview mirror, but that didn't bring me any comfort. I didn't care how far I drove, I needed to escape whatever that thing was. I gripped the wheel, knuckles white, until my hands ached. My mind raced with questions. What did it mean when it said I had found something? What was that stone? I tried to focus on the road ahead, searching for the comfort of familiar landmarks, but my mind kept drifting. The desert was endless, dark, and unforgiving. I flicked on the high beams, scanning the landscape. Each bump in the road felt like a shadow, each rustle of the wind a whisper calling my name. I finally took a deep breath. Maybe it was just a trick of the light, I told myself. Maybe it was just exhaustion, or a broken psyche. I'd been driving for too long, and the isolation was getting to me. I had to shake it off, but then I saw it again. Headlights in the distance. A pair getting closer, growing larger and brighter. My heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. I wasn't alone anymore. I could flag someone down, get help, and then I remembered that feeling from before, the shadows, the darkness. Panic washed over me anew. The approaching vehicle came into view, a pickup truck much like mine. I couldn't believe my luck. I flashed my lights, desperate for confirmation that it was indeed real. The other driver slowed, pulling alongside me. I rolled down my window, praying for a friendly face. The driver was a woman, her brown hair tousled and wild. Her eyes flitted to mine with a mix of sympathy and urgency. Are you okay? She asked, her voice edged with concern. I think I saw something back there. Something strange. I struggled to find the words. Did you pass by here? Yeah, she nodded, glancing nervously over her shoulder. I saw something too. I wasn't sure what. A loud bang interrupted our conversation. It thundered from the direction I had come, shaking my truck. We both jumped at the sound. What was that? I barely managed to croak out. I don't know, she stammered. We should go, now. The weight of her words hung in the air. I didn't need convincing. I slammed the gas pedal down. As we pulled away, I couldn't shake off the feeling that whatever was chasing me had now turned its gaze onto her. I glanced at the woman, her expression shifting to one of alarm. "Did you bring it with you?" she asked, her eyes wide. Before I could respond, a streak of pure darkness raced across the road, blocking our path. My heart dropped. That wasn't just an illusion. Something was coming for us, and it was here. Now the road ahead twisted into a blur, and my mind screamed for answers, the whispering returning with full force. I had to confront this shadow. Whatever the cost. The shadow darted away, leaving behind a chilling stillness. My grip on the wheel tightened, adrenaline coursing through me. The woman stared wide-eyed at the empty road, her breath quickening. "Did you see that?" she gasped. "Yeah." "What was that?" "I don't know." She turned to me, panic evident in her voice. "What if it's following us?" I didn't want to think about that. I shifted my focus back to the road, hoping against hope that I could just drive it out of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I brought something with me from that dark place. I glanced at her, and saw the fear etched in her features. "What is your name?" I asked, trying to ground us both. "Chloe," she replied, swallowing hard. "And you?" "Jake." We shared a quick glance. It was like finding an ally in a war zone. "Jake, we can't stop. We have to keep moving." I nodded, urging the truck to go faster, feeling the engine strain. The only sound was the roar of the tires against the asphalt. My heart raced as I scanned the horizon, praying for a sign of civilization, or at least some reassurance we weren't alone. But minutes dragged on, and the road remained unyielding. I glanced at Chloe again, her face pale under the pale glow of the dashboard lights. "This isn't what I signed up for," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Me neither," I said, twisting the wheel to round a sharp bend. Just then, I saw something, a light flickering on the side of the road. My heart skipped a beat. "There!" I pointed. "Maybe someone lives out here." As we drew closer, I noticed an old, worn-out gas station standing lonely, barely lit and looking abandoned. Gas pumps sat like silent sentinels, covered in layers of dust. I pulled into the lot, the gravel crunching beneath the tires as a wave of uncertainty rolled over me. "Are you sure?" Chloe asked, her voice tinged with hesitation. "Better than being out here in the dark," I replied. I wanted to convince myself I was right. We stepped out, the night air heavy with the scent of gasoline and fear. I peered into the dimly lit store, hoping to find someone, anyone. Behind the counter, a flickering fluorescent light cast eerie shadows. My heart raced as I approached the entrance. "Wait!" Chloe called after me. I turned, but I was already inside, compelled by something I couldn't name. "Hello?" I called out, but silence enveloped me. On the walls, old posters advertised sodas and snacks that looked like they hadn't been around for decades. Shadows danced around me, making my skin crawl. I could feel her tense presence standing just outside the door. Then, a sound of soft scraping noise from the back room. My instinct screamed at me to leave, but I pressed forward. "Is anyone there?" I felt my breath hitch in my throat. That's when I saw it. A glimmer of movement just beyond the doorway leading to the back room. I blinked, and it was gone. My pulse thundered. "Chloe, come in here." But as I turned to call her again, the realization struck me: the shadows had come with me. They weren't just in the rearview mirror anymore. They were here, and they were hungry. My heart raced as I stepped deeper into the gas station, the shadows shifting like living things. I couldn't shake the itch of adrenaline running down my spine. "Chloe." I called again, but the words echoed back at me, swallowed by the silence. The shadows in the room seemed thicker, almost wrapping around me. I glanced back toward the door. She was still outside, and I could just make out her silhouette against the dim glow of the parking lot lights. I wanted to call her in, to share this experience, but something tugged at me, an instinct to keep her safe. Then I heard it again, the soft scraping. This time it was closer, just behind the door at the back of the store. Fear roared in my chest, urging me to turn and bolt. But curiosity gripped me as much as fear did. I needed to know what was making that noise. Gathering what courage I could muster, I stepped forward. The floor creaked under my weight. The fluorescent lights flickered, shadows danced more aggressively. I waited, poised at the threshold of the back room. Is anyone there? I forced myself to ask again, my voice wavering. Silence hung heavy in the air. Then I heard it, a low, almost human sound, like a muffled cry. It sent chills racing down my spine. I couldn't just stand there anymore. I took a breath and pushed the door open. The room was dark, cluttered with old boxes and bits of forgotten merchandise. My gaze swept through the space, searching. That's when I noticed something shiny half hidden behind a stack of boxes. It caught the light, glinting ominously. I stepped closer, cautiously moving aside the boxes. My hands trembled, whether from fear or anticipation I couldn't tell. My fingers brushed against cold metal. I pulled it out and gasped. It was a small hand mirror, cracked and dusty. But it wasn't just the mirror that sent a shiver through me. As I turned it in my hand, I saw a reflection that wasn't mine. A shadow loomed behind me in the mirror, dark and formless. A whisper of movement that vanished the second I spun around to confront it. "Chloe, you need to come in," I shouted, the urgency consuming my voice. I stumbled back toward the door, practically crashing into the thresholds, my eyes still scanning the shadows that lurked in the corners. "Jake!" Chloe's voice reached me as she stepped further inside, her face drawn tight with worry. "What's happening?" "Something's in here with us," I said, my breath coming in shallow gasps. I held up the mirror, desperately hoping it meant something. "It's got to be." A loud noise interrupted me, a crash from somewhere in the store. My heart raced. I looked back at Chloe, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to leave, now." But before we could turn to run, the shadows thickened again, coalescing into something humanoid. It didn't have a face, just darkness and an abiding, terrible hunger. I felt the air cool around us, an electric charge that prickled my skin. "Stay close," I shouted. The urge to flee battled against the responsibility to protect. Just as I turned to grab Chloe's arm, the figure lunged from the shadows, reaching for us both. Everything went dark, but before it did, I thought I saw a glimpse of 1,000 haunting eyes, all reflecting back at me through the mirror. What were they? What did they want? I didn't have the answers, but I knew one thing: I had to figure it out before it was too late. I gasped as the darkness swallowed us. My heart thudded loudly in my chest. I couldn't tell if seconds or hours had passed. Gradually, an eerie clarity broke through the fog. I blinked and found myself back inside the gas station, standing frozen near the entrance. Chloe was beside me, eyes brimming with panic. "Jake!" she cried, reaching for me. The shadows stretched along the walls, jagged and ominous. "What just happened?" I shook my head, trying to catch my breath. "I don't know," I admitted. My hands were still trembling, the mirror resting in my pocket like a heavy secret. Thoughts whirled in my mind. We need to find a way out. But then I saw it. The figure was no longer behind us, but closer now, its presence suffocating. Blacker than the shadows, its hunger pulsed like a living thing. I could almost feel its cold gaze locking onto us. "Jake, look." Chloe pointed toward the wall. There, lurking in the corner, was a door I hadn't noticed before. It was hidden behind a stack of empty shelves. "Let us go." I grabbed her hand and rushed for the door, but it flung open suddenly, and a gust pulled us inside. We stumbled through, the door slamming shut behind us with a resonating thud. We were in a clean, brightly lit hallway, starkly contrasting the chaos we had just escaped. Against one wall sat an old TV, static-filled and buzzing. My mind raced. Where were we? "I don't like this," Chloe whispered, her voice shaking. Before I could speak, she pointed at the screen. "It's showing something." I stepped closer. The TV flickered to life, revealing a distorted scene. It was the gas station. But it felt different, more chaotic, more alive. I saw shadows looping through the aisles as dark figures danced around, their movements erratic and almost mocking. "What is this?" I asked, my throat dry. Chloe frowned. It's like a memory of what just happened. But it's not right. Then, suddenly, the screen switched to something else. A pair of eyes stared back at us, millions of them reflecting the same anguish I felt. They weren't just watching us, they were pleading, begging for release. Jake! We shouldn't be here. Chloe tugged at my arm, but I was transfixed. My heart raced as I grasped at a sliver of understanding. They're trapped, I said softly. Just like us. The realization crashed over me like ice water. We weren't just running from something, we might be part of something bigger, much darker. Something rattled the door behind us. Panic shot through me, and I jerked my head around. We have to move. As we ran, I could hear the faint whispers grow louder, echoing through the hall. Shadows crawled along the walls, urging us to look back. But I didn't want to look back. I wanted to go home. Just as I reached for the handle of the exit door at the end of the hall, the lights flickered and dimmed. The whispers turned into an angry cacophony, then everything went black again. When the lights returned, I found myself alone. My heart sank as I realized I was back in the gas station, the mirror still clutched tightly in my hand. Chloe? I called her name into the void, fear curling in my stomach. Chloe! I shouted again, panic surging through me. The shadows pressed in closer, mocking me again. The air thickened, weighing me down. I had to find her before whatever was in the dark got to her first. I took a shaky breath, grounding myself in the moment. The gas station's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I stepped forward, peering into the aisles filled with dust-covered snacks and forgotten drinks. Chloe? My voice sounded hollow against the silence, there was no answer. My mind raced. Where could she be? I couldn't just stand here. I moved deeper into the gas station, searching frantically. I checked the bathroom, the back room, anywhere I could think of, but she was gone. Then I heard a faint whisper, like a breeze slipping through cracks. It sounded almost like a call, beckoning me toward the rear of the shop. I followed it, unable to resist the pull. The whispers grew louder, echoing my mounting dread. As I neared the back wall, I noticed something odd. Another door, this one slightly ajar, its edges worn and chipped. A sliver of darkness beckoned me inside. Against my better judgment, I pushed the door open. It creaked, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into the gloom. Chloe? I called again, clearer this time. There was still no reply, just the sound of distant murmurs. I hesitated, fear gnawing at my insides, but something convinced me to go down. Maybe she had found a way to escape down there. The stairs felt unnaturally cold as I descended. The whispers coiled around me like smoke, growing more intense. At the bottom, the air was thick. I stepped into a dimly lit corridor. The walls were lined with strange symbols I didn't recognize, twisting and merging like live serpents. This place is wrong, I muttered, glancing over my shoulder. At the end of the hallway was another door, this one solid metal, with a glass panel at eye level. Hesitantly, I leaned closer. I gasped as I saw Chloe inside, but there was something off about her. She stared blankly at the wall, her eyes unfocused. Chloe! I banged on the glass, panic rising in my chest. She didn't respond, just stood there as if in a trance. I rattled the handle locked. No, no, no! I pushed harder against the glass, my breath coming in shaky gasps. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the corridor. I froze, turning toward the source of the sound. Shadows writhed in the corners, flickering in and out of existence. I felt that familiar presence creeping closer, darker than the surrounding black. The whispers morphed into screams, a cacophony of anguish and desperation. Let her go! I shouted, my heart racing. I pounded against the door again. Whatever this place was, I knew I had to act quickly. I could feel the weight of the darkness closing in around me. Just then, the door began to rattle, as if something on the other side was trying to break through. My stomach twisted with dread. The shadows danced wildly, and I knew I had to hurry. I scanned the area for a way to break the glass or find another exit. That's when I saw a small stone lying in the corner, its edges jagged and sharp. If I could just get it to the window. As I lunged for it, the door was flung open, and my breath caught in my throat. Something shattered within the dark. I grasped the stone tightly, my mind racing with the possibilities unfolding around me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was in the shadows with me was now far closer than I had anticipated. I gripped the stone, my heart hammering in my chest. The door swung open with a force that rattled the entire corridor. I glanced between the thick shadows, half expecting something to lunge at me from the gloom. But nothing came, just a heavy silence draped around me like a shroud. In the dim light, I could make out shapes moving, dark outlines shifting against the wall. I felt an overwhelming urge to run, but I couldn't leave Chloe. I had to get her out of this nightmare. I hurled the stone at the glass. It struck with a dull thud, leaving a small crack spiderwebbing across the surface. I didn't have time to waste. The whispers intensified again, clawing at my sanity. "Chloe, please!" I shouted, desperation slicing through the fear. I pulled back my arm, ready to strike again when something caught my eye. The shadows weren't just flickering, they were moving toward me, coiling like mist disturbed by footsteps. I stilled, recognizing shapes forming almost human, yet devoid of color and substance. Then I heard a low, chilling laugh that echoed off the walls. It sent ice shooting down my spine. I spun around, dropping the stone, searching for an escape. As I turned, I noticed a shadow moving independently, gliding toward me with malicious intent. "Get away from me!" I shouted. I had to find a way to break the glass before it was too late. I grabbed the stone again, my fingers trembling as the laughter grew louder. Whatever was in the shadows wanted me, and it seemed more than willing to take Chloe too. I took a few shaky steps toward the glass, ready to strike. "Chloe! I'm coming for you!" My voice broke, but I couldn't let her down. I knew if I didn't act now, I would lose her forever. Just as I raised the stone again, I heard a grunt from behind me. I whipped around to see a figure emerging from the shadows, tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes fixed on me. Fear coiled around my throat, choking me. This couldn't be happening. "Leave her alone!" I screamed, flinging the stone toward the metal door instead. It hit hard, and the loud snap of the crack reverberated through the air. But the figure only chuckled, a twisted grin spreading across its face. "Did you think you could just take her?" It hissed, the voice slithering through the air. The shadows around it seemed to pulse, hungry for something I didn't understand. I felt my courage waning, but I had no choice. I needed to break that glass. With sheer determination, I charged at Chloe's prison, the stone clutched tightly in my fist. But the silhouette shot forward, blocking me just inches away. I collided with it, the coldness seeping into my skin, and a piercing scream erupted from Chloe behind me. "Move!" I shouted, shoving the figure aside. It staggered back, momentarily losing its form. I lunged forward and smashed the stone against the glass, but instead of shattering, the glass rippled like water. I gasped, confusion flooding my senses. The figure regained its stance, eyes alight with malice. "You just don't get it, do you? You can't save her." Panic surged through me as Chloe's glass prison seemed to twist, her expression shifting from daze to panic. "Chloe!" I called out, my voice laced with fear. But then, something deep within the shadows shifted, and suddenly, everything went dark. I couldn't breathe. The darkness closed in like a suffocating blanket, swallowing every glimmer of hope. I stumbled back, heart racing, my mind a whirlwind of dread. I reached for the wall, trying to steady myself, but it felt both foreign and familiar, like I'd lost my bearings. Then I heard a soft whimper echoing from somewhere far in the void. "Chloe!" I called, voice trembling. "I'm here. Can you hear me?" There was no answer, just the haunting silence that filled the space like a thick fog. I strained my ears, focusing on the faint sounds of breathing that felt impossibly close yet so far away. The shadowy figure was still lurking, its presence palpable, as if it was feeding off my fear. I couldn't let it win. Gathering every ounce of courage, I shouted, "Show yourself!" My heart pounded in my chest, drowning out the whispers that clawed at my mind. Out of the murky blackness, a faint light flickered to life, illuminating the contours of the space around me. As the darkness receded, I caught sight of distorted shapes stretching along the walls. They shifted unnaturally, reminiscent of twisted faces writhing in pain. My stomach churned. What was this place? Suddenly, the laughter returned, piercing through the unsettling quiet. It came from behind me. I turned, ready to defend myself, but all I saw was the glimmering light, a portal dancing at the edge of reality. My instincts screamed to flee, but then I saw her. Chloe, trapped within the confines of her glass prison, her eyes frantic, searching for help. "Don't leave me. Please." I froze. The darkness tried to envelop me again. I yelled, "I want tea." Moving toward the light felt different this time, more inviting than frightening. Before I could reach it, the figure lunged, solidifying from the shadows. I braced for impact, but instead of colliding with me, it shot past, straight toward the light. The laughter turned into a shriek, and I watched as it collided into the brightness, disappearing and leaving only a howl echoing in its wake. What just happened? My voice trembled as I took a cautious step closer to Chloe. The glass rippled again, something shifting inside it. I could see her. I could feel her urgency. "Chloe, hang on. Get me out of here," she screamed, fear etched in her voice. I raised my hands, palms pressed against the glass, desperation surging within me. "I will. I promise." But as I leaned into the radiance, the distortion around Chloe began to twist, much like before. "What's happening?" I shouted, panic creeping back. Just then, a figure emerged from the edges of the light, a silhouette I recognized. My heart sank as realization hit me. No way, it can't be. The light flickered again, and I turned, only to find myself in an entirely different corridor. The environment shifted, walls lined with mirrors reflecting my horrified expression. I stumbled back, searching for solace, but instead, I was met with countless versions of myself, all trapped in this never-ending maze. Their hollow eyes mirrored my own fear, and the laughter returned, louder and more menacing than before. That's when I saw an object shimmering in the distance, something that felt oddly familiar. I knew I had to reach it, to confront whatever lay ahead. The path twisted before me, and I couldn't shake the thought that time was running out for Chloe. I took a deep breath, forced my legs to move, and stepped deeper into the unknown. Everything felt hazy as I stumbled through that corridor of mirrors, the oppressive weight of despair pushing down on me. Each reflection was a fragment of my fear and dread, twisting my thoughts into a knot I couldn't untangle. I couldn't let myself get lost in them. I had to reach Chloe. As I forged ahead, I could hear the laughter again, mocking me from the depths of the darkness. It fueled my determination. I wove through the distorted images, finally reaching the shimmering object I had spotted earlier, a small crystal like the stone I'd found in the gas station. It pulsed with an inner light, drawing me closer. Perhaps it held a key to breaking this curse, but just as I reached for it, the corridor seemed to shift, and the mirrors quaked at my approach. I felt them pulling at me, dragging my essence through their reflective surfaces. I gritted my teeth, fighting back against their grip. "No!" I shouted, forcing my will into forward motion. "I want to be your prisoner." The laughter faltered, and in that moment of defiance, I grasped the crystal tightly, feeling a surge of energy course through me, a warmth that soothed the despair clawing at my heart. With newfound resolve, I spun around, ready to face whatever darkness lay behind me. Then I saw her again, Chloe, her frantic face now blurred in one of the mirrors behind me. "Jake!" she cried, panic straining her voice. "What's happening? Where are you? Hang on!" I shouted back, my heart racing as I moved toward her reflection. "I'm coming, I promise." The shadows around me thickened, coiling tighter, but the crystal in my grasp burned brighter. Channeling that light, I lunged, aiming for the glass that separated us. As my hand made contact, the surface rippled like water, and I felt the barrier give way. I could see her face clearly now, a mixture of fear and hope. "Jake!" Her voice was a beacon in the chaos. "Don't let go." With one last burst of strength, I pulled her through the portal. The shadows writhed violently, their anguished howls echoing in my ears as we tumbled into blinding light. Moments later, we landed hard on the cool ground, disoriented but alive. We lay there for a heartbeat, catching our breath, and when we opened our eyes again, we found ourselves at the edge of the desert not far from where it had all begun. The night sky was vast and clear, stars twinkling brightly above, and the weight of shadowy dread seemed to lift, if only slightly. "Did we make it?" Chloe whispered, eyes wide. "I think so," I replied, glancing around. The gas station loomed in the distance, dark and foreboding, but I could see faint lights flickering inside now. The whispers had quieted, but a lingering chill nudged at my spine. Before I could think too long, I felt the pull of an unseen force behind me. It was the darkness, fading but still lingering. A chill ran down my spine. "I think we have to go," I said, grabbing her hand. We scrambled to our feet, moving away from the gas station. But as we approached the road, I glanced back one last time. Through the grimy windows of the store, I swore I could see those familiar dark figures watching us, their eyes gleaming with something I couldn't decipher. I couldn't tell if it was hunger or despair. "What is it?" Chloe asked, sensing my hesitation. "It's not over," I murmured, the realization crashing over me like waves. Those shadows wouldn't just vanish. Something within those depths would linger, waiting and watching until they caught more souls in their grasp. We continued to run, fueled by fear but also a sense of relief. Each step away from that gas station felt like shedding a weight, yet the lingering unease prickled at the edges of my thoughts. As the glow of the headlights from passing cars lit our path, I could feel the road beneath us, the comforting hum of normalcy, at least for now. But even as we drove away, I knew that the questions wouldn't just fade, they would linger like the shadows. What were those figures? Why had they targeted me? And, most hauntingly, how many others lived with the whispers still echoing in their minds? I glanced at Chloe, her gaze focused ahead, both of us lost in our thoughts. We were safe, for now. But somewhere deep inside me, I feared that the night was still hungry, watching and waiting in the darkness. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if those shadows still lurk in the corners of the world, if they're still whispering, beckoning someone else into the night. But mostly I try not to think about it.